We are actually going to begin this very, very soon, guys. We're going to begin this imminently. We are beginning this very imminently. We are beginning this very, very soon, everyone. We're not going to waste time because I'm already pretty late. So I hope everybody's ready. Okay. Wow, there's like no one here. This is fucking bad. This is disgusting. Everyone liked the stream. Like the fucking stream. The stream length is gonna depend on how many people are here, right? If no, this is bad, you know? This is bad. Okay, I'm just gonna start it. I'm just gonna start it right off the bat. We're not gonna have time to wait for people to get in. Alright, I sent him the link. Okay. Sent the link. So, guys, we are gonna have on for an interview U.S. Senate candidate Diane Sare for New York for the midterm elections. And she is running for the U.S. Senate to build the land bridge. But I'm going to let her kind of inform you guys and educate you guys about what she's all about, what her platform is all about, and what that whole thing is, what her, campaign basically means. So I'll let that happen. So as soon as I sent out the invite link. I had a crazy day today. I'll tell you guys about it. Afterwards. I'll tell you guys about it afterwards. But this is going to be good, guys. It's going to be good. It's going to be a great, very interesting stream. Wow. I've got some stuff to talk about. I've got some stuff. All right. So hi. Can you hear me all right? So the audio, let me fix it. Settings. Audio. Okay, this is the problem. So speaker. All right. Can you hear me? All right, great. Welcome, Diane Sare, who is running for the U.S. Senate coming out of New York. I just want to do one more audio test. Can you speak? So I just want to see the output. How it is.
Myself here. I'm gonna speak more like this volume. How's that?
Yeah, that should be good.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna get my microphone settings just to adjust them so they work better. Okay, I think. Oh, is this too much? Yeah, it's got to be too much.
Yeah.
All right. How about this? Is this good?
Yeah, that's good. That's very good.
Okay, okay, perfect. All right, so we've got the midterms coming up November 8th, 2022. And I don't know which specific district you're running, but I imagine it's heavily blue, right? Heavily Democrat.
Well, I'm running in the whole state. I'm running for U.S. Senate. So it's the whole state of New York.
Ah, yeah, my bad. Sorry about that. I got confused with Congress for a second.
Right.
So,
But they have the primaries are coming up for Congress August 23rd.
hmm. But I imagine that for the Senate, it's very dominated by usually Democrat candidates, right?
Well, in New York, there's two senators, and they're both Democrats. That's
I see.
Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand.
So, is there a specific senator whose spot you're aiming for? Or?
Yeah, Chuck Schumer. He's the one up for re-election.
Ah, Chuck. Okay, so that's not a very good guy.
No, not
Yeah.
not really. Not last time I checked. He's the senator of Wall Street and World War III. But other than that, and the FBI. But other than that, he's really good.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, besides the causing a Armageddon, he's not so bad. So, why don't you begin by telling us a little bit about your motivations for running and some of the goals you seek to fulfill with the campaign, and hopefully, if you could get elected.
Well, I decided to run for Schumer's seat actually in 2019, around the time that Lyndon LaRouche passed away, um, largely because I thought it was really necessary that you have someone to represent a certain principle of leadership and policy direction. Because everything LaRouche had warned about in terms of the economic collapse, the danger of war, then later pandemic, disease, which, as everyone will admit, I think if they're honest, the number one comorbidity is poverty, right? Obviously, if you're malnourished and living under high stress, you're going to be sick, right? That's not hard to figure out. And Schumer really became the poster child, one early on when actually Trump said we should audit he didn't say audit, he said reorganize, but apparently General Michael Flynn, who had been fired by Obama because he didn't think we should be arming Al-Qaeda in Syria, said we should audit the intelligence agencies, which are like this massive, I mean, hundreds of thousands of people are employed by these things in the United States, and they're involved in all kinds of horrible activities here and abroad. And Flynn was calling for auditing them, and Trump was calling for reorganizing them. And then Schumer was the one on Rachel Maddow who said, oh, that's really stupid. They have 6 ways from Sunday to get back at you, which is perhaps what they're doing today or yesterday at Mar-a-Lago with this giant FBI raid, which is pretty outrageous. So, Schumer, he's the Senate Majority Leader. He's been in office for 42 years, and he is terrible. He does not represent the needs of the people of the United States. And given my 35 years of collaboration with Lyndon LaRouche, I know I am far more qualified than he is for that office.
You mentioned that is really topical. The recent bout of FBI raids, and not a lot of people are familiar, but that's not confined just to Trump. There's been a bout of FBI raids across the country recently, and it really speaks to this arbitrary use of political power, which appears to be a form of fascist thuggery, if you ask me. That this is the kind of state that we're sliding into under
Sure.
the Democrats.
Well, it's British. It's the British Empire, and it's this bankers' dictatorship. They never forgave the United States for the American Revolution. And what's happening is all of the real reasons for the American Revolution and the real intention of people like Ben Franklin and Alexander Hamilton is being covered up so that people don't even know what our history actually is in terms of the fight against colonialism, the fight against slavery, the commitment that John Quincy Adams expressed that not only do we not search abroad for monsters to destroy, but what does it mean to be a bastion of freedom, of liberty and hope? What does that mean really? Doesn't mean you go around bludgeoning people into submission, but you perhaps help nations liberate themselves by fighting British colonialism, fighting imperial policy. And we have really strayed from that path. So, yeah, we had, and now you have this Ukrainian hit list, which, as you know, my name is on with the 72 other people, put out by a State Department-backed group in Ukraine at a conference where the State Department was participating, funded, as Scott Ritter says, by Chuck Schumer, Kirsten Gillibrand, all the people in Congress who voted to send the $8.7 billion in updated appropriations so the government of Ukraine can function. To do what? To subvert the U.S. Constitution, to silence political figures and international leaders by calling us agents of Russian propaganda, and then further actually saying that we are information, quote, information terrorists and war criminals. I mean, that's pretty wild. I'm being called a war criminal. Helga Zepp-LaRouche and the 30 people who spoke at Schiller conferences are war criminals. Most of us haven't even been in an actual combat zone.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty insane that there is such a callous disregard for these foundational principles, that that form the basis of what the United States is. And you mentioned that the British Empire is trying to hide and sweep under the rug the actual real legacy and significance of the American Revolution. That kind of reminds me that across the country we are seeing a new narrative take place, which is being defined according to the 1619 Project. And according to this project, the United States' founding is completely illegitimate, and it's just white slave-holding, landowners and it was a counter-revolution, and actually the British Empire was progressive. I mean, there's whispers that Meghan Markle plans on eyeing the U.S. presidency. So what can you really say about the importance of safeguarding the truth about the history of the United States, in addition to promoting what you would consider, and what I believe Mr. Larouche had considered, the American system? Because while I myself am a Marxist-Leninist, I'm a communist, I do find it pretty fascinating, the distinction, right, between the kind of free trade system, which was promoted by the British Empire and then adopted by, so-called neoliberal think tanks, and the American system. So how would you characterize the uniquely American system that is wanting to kind of help mitigate or bring us out of the crisis we find ourselves in now?
Well, I think you really have to go back, I mean, maybe as far as Plato's Republic, but certainly Joan of Arc, Nicholas of Cusa, the first scientist who really in the 1400s had this idea of the consent of the governed. He said if every human being is created in the image of God, in the image of the Creator, then of necessity every human being is equal. So if every human being is equal, what determines who has the right to rule over other people? If you are equal in that regard, should there not be a principle whereby people using their free will cede, in a sense, that responsibility? They say, well, I elect you to represent my interests. I am willfully giving you, because I trust that you are going to represent my interest or the interests of the general welfare. I will give you that authority. And this was a very, very important part of our Declaration of Independence. Because what were the British doing? They were making arbitrary rules. They were arresting people, having crazy trials, seizing people, kidnapping them on the seas, and forcing them to join the British Navy and things like that. So this kind of freedom, but to what end? And the other part of that, and this is the Leibniz idea, the pursuit of happiness. What is it? And that he didn't say pleasure, right? It was what makes a human being profoundly happy. Well, I think somewhere each one of us has got to be conscious that we're not going to be here forever. We have a very short mortal existence relative to the billions of years the planet has been here, for example. So isn't it satisfying to know that you may have been able to make a contribution which is immortal, which is a contribution to the people who came before you and the people who come after you, like Beethoven and his compositions, or Albert Einstein discovering the principle of gravitational waves, which only get confirmed years after his death. And I think when you have that sense that your life had a meaning which is beyond some physical something or other, all of which is ephemeral, and that's the other thing that I find greatly ironic, right? The things that actually are enduring are not things that we perceive with sense perception, but are in the realm of ideas. That's an amazing thought. So that gives human beings happiness. I mean, really profound happiness, that you know that your life is continued in a sense beyond the bookends of your mortal existence. So if you have a government that's supposed to allow you to participate in mankind in that way, then that means you can't be scratching around in the dirt for food. You have to have a commitment to maintain certain things like a transportation grid, clean drinking water, nowadays electricity. You want to create the conditions. The government has a responsibility to protect the conditions where each individual citizen has a prayer, has a possibility of making that contribution, making that scientific discovery, writing that composition, making that painting, doing something that uplifts mankind.
Yeah, that's I think I agree with that. And hold on, give me a moment. I have to pause.
Sure.
Thank you so much for the gifted memberships, but I'm gonna pause that so we don't have any interruptions. I wanted to ask about your platform, because, with being a senator comes, a level of influence over the political process, and also, a political position. So what do you think in concrete terms, some of the things that are wanting, as far as what could a government of the people do to improve, the welfare and happiness of the American people?
Well, first of all, the government should take back its power from these Wall Street and City of London crooks. So that means getting rid of the Federal Reserve and creating a national bank, which is able to direct credit into things that give us more power over nature. That means increasing energy density like nuclear power, ultimately nuclear fusion. I think we really have to revive the idea of space exploration. People say, well, how can you spend all that money in space? There's so much poverty here on Earth. Well, when we went to the moon, where we didn't spend money on the moon, there were no banks on the moon. All the money was spent here on Earth massively. There were 40,000 employees at NASA. There were 400,000 private sector employees that were engaged in producing very specific components that were needed by the astronauts, by the technicians, by the people at NASA. So you had this incredible multiplier of a federally funded program, but a tenfold multiplier in the private sector. And similarly, even Chase Econometrics made a model where they said every dollar spent on the Apollo mission generated $10 to $14. I think that's a kind of a contrivance, because I don't think you really should measure wealth in terms of dollars, but it gives you a glimmer, say a footprint of an idea, because what did we get out of the space program? New ways of pasteurizing milk, microwave ovens, laptop computers, Teflon, Velcro, it was all kinds of things, not to mention hopefully more profound understanding of the planet. I had an opportunity just this past week. I was in upstate New York and I met with a fellow who operates a mine. And I was asking him how he, in this case zinc, what's the chemical process whereby you separate the zinc from all the other things that you're digging up. He said in that particular area, I think the raw ore is maybe 6 to 12% zinc. And then you're trying to separate it from lead and quartz and all these other things. And it's very fascinating. And then it sort of occurred to me that, you wonder, well, why are there veins of zinc in a particular area and not in others? And why are there deposits of quartz or iron? Why, right? How come everything's not homogeneous on the Earth? And then you start thinking about what we're studying with the Webb telescope. The formation of stars, the formation of planets, and suddenly it just hit me like a lightning bolt that how completely interlinked the study of the origin of stars, the origin of solar systems and galaxies is interlinked with everything that we still don't even understand about Earth. The composition of the Earth, which we only know very, very shallowly. Right? I mean, this is really exciting. And then you think of this crazy so-called environmentalist movement, which basically says, well, there's nothing new to be discovered, except we can assert that the world is a giant thermostat, and if you want to control the temperature, all you have to do is stop exhaling and don't drive an automobile. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, I find this a very bold and vast way of thinking as opposed to what our politicians are. I mean, you listen to politicians today, and what they're basically trying to tell us is that, we've reached our carrying capacity, we're busting our ceiling on the head, and there's a crisis, and we've got to buckle down, either in the form of austerity for the banks, or, in the form of, degrowth, because we have to save the planet. But it seems like where you're coming from, you're offering a vision that, kind of makes humanity worthy of the vastness of the cosmos, that we can be big enough to kind of pursue our inner potentials and interact with nature in all of its vastness, not only just to, have this escapist fantasy of going into space, as some critics allege, but also to have a deeper understanding, as you said, of the Earth. So it's a geocosmic vision. It's not just, a space fantasy. And I understand many of these ideas were forwarded by Lyndon Larouche himself throughout his lifetime. Now, I bring him up because, especially on the left, there appears to be, a series of malign, he is someone who is very much unfairly maligned. Now, I know this because I'm sufficiently educated, so I know about the lies that have been told about him and, the smears by both the media and by the left. But just for audiences who may not be familiar, I want to ask you a few questions if that's all right.
Or no, I wanted to talk about this, so I'm very glad.
Yeah. So I would like to ask first, what do you think are some of the most common smears and misconceptions about Lyndon Larouche and his ideas? And two, why do you think it is that Larouche in particular has been so unfairly maligned? Because I have read Larouche's writings. Larouche is very clearly anti-racist, anti-Nazi, anti-fascist. He's against the Ku Klux Klan. He wrote about the history of the Ku Klux Klan and its relationship, to the British Empire and things of that nature. And yet, when you go to the left, they'll tell you things like, oh yeah, Larouche cooperated with the Ku Klux Klan to stop leftists, and oh yeah, Larouche was a fascist who was allied with the far right. So I want to give you an opportunity to be able to
Sure.
dispel these various
Well, first of all, I think you have to understand that the slanders against LaRouche are tailored to the audience that they're fed to, because I can assure you that people, Republicans or people who consider themselves on the right, tell me that they think LaRouche was a communist and that he is a leftist and a Trotskyist and that kind of thing, right? So you get that, and then for people on the left, he was a fascist, a racist. The big one was anti-Semite. That was the big one. And I think that had to do with the people LaRouche was organizing, because he founded the organization in New York City. And he founded it actually, in part, there was an attempt by the FBI and others to get a kind of a racial ethnic strike between the black population and the Jewish school teachers at one point. And LaRouche's organizers and Larouche completely judoed this operation by getting to more fundamental issues of physical economy and so on. As a result, recruiting many African American and Jewish students. So I think they came up with those slanders because these were two groups of people who would very much be inclined to work with LaRouche. So in order to prevent that, then you say, well, he's anti-Semitic and he's, he's a racist, or he's, and he's a whatever. So, but they also, look, this is the 100th anniversary of his birth. This year. I think he should be exonerated. I was reflecting on some of the reasons why. You're lucky enough to have read some of LaRouche's writings, so you have an appreciation of the genius of his thinking, and he actually made certain fundamental discoveries in physical economy, like the question of potential relative population density as the means of measuring the success of your economic model. That was really no one had ever come up with an empirical metric for that before. And in fact, members of the Russian Academy of Scientists said that they now have a term. The term for that is going to be the law, as in LaRouche, potential relative population density, the law. So why, if you look back at Bach, the music of Bach was suppressed. Beethoven was lucky enough to get to work on Bach by the time he was 10 or 11, but for people like Mozart or Schumann, they didn't even know of Bach. It wasn't performed. It was sort of out, and they didn't hear it till very late in life. And I know in the case of Schumann, better than I know in the case of Mozart, when he finally discovered Bach, it totally revolutionized his method of composition. And there's a huge difference between his second and third symphonies, which you hear. So his genius, in a sense, was stunted by the fact that Bach was suppressed. Similarly, the work of Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz, who was studying and traveling to both Russia and China, and who concluded that Confucianism, the Confucian culture in China might have actually been more Christian than some of the so-called Christians in Europe. He was very polemical about that, and contributed to the founding of the Russian Academy of Scientists. So here was Leibniz, a great genius. I think one person attended his funeral. No one knew him. His work was totally suppressed. How many great scientific discoveries, how many generations did we lose because people didn't get to study Leibniz? And then you think about Larouche, who had read just about everything by Leibniz by the time he was 14 years of age, and brought this to life, brought this to his own work. So part of why I think it's so urgent that Larouche's name be cleared and we address these slanders and all of these lies is that the harm, he's no longer with us. He died 3 years ago, physically, but everybody is being oppressed by lack of access to his discoveries and his profound sense of identity. He used to say, I'm 2,500 years old. And that's really how he saw himself. He saw himself as the child of universal history, of all of the currents of various breakthroughs and discoveries of the last 2,500 years having gone into creating him. And that's such an incredibly rich sense of identity. And how many young people do we know today who have an identity where they feel like they're 3,000 years old or 500 years old?
Yeah, I think that speaks to, there's a crisis in this country where people have lost the sense of meaning, and they've lost the sense of being able to establish continuity with history. They kind of have this very smug, ironic, detachment from the world. And I do think that these ideas are a countervailing influence upon that. Specifically concerning, what is within the capacity of politics, do you know any initiatives that could promote a sense of, a culturedness and familiarity with, Leibniz and others? Because as we can see in this country, that there's a profound level of lack of interest in these kinds of topics among the youth and among people in general.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, obviously, you're not going to go in and wag your finger at people and say, why don't you read this? Because they're really not going to care. I think we have to have a mission. If we, for example, take the pandemic, we totally blew it on the response to COVID. If you had said, and it was fairly clear early on that younger people were much less affected by it, but you want to make sure that older people are safe. You don't want to be arbitrary, but you could have said, okay, look, we have a public health problem. We have a lot of people living in horrible, overcrowded housing. We have people eating a bad diet. We have entire apartment complexes with terrible ventilation. We have poor sanitation, dirty drinking water. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the opportunity presented by this disease to launch a crash program to solve a bunch of these problems. And we're going to take people who are doing work which is not really safe to do right now, like being in a restaurant or a tattoo parlor or whatever, and we're going to engage them in things that are outdoors, but where they can actually make a contribution to uplifting the standard of living, which will harden people's immune system, harden our basic defenses to disease. And I think had we had a crash program, the former Surgeon General who's been in touch with the Larouche organization, Dr. Joycelyn Elders, had an idea that you could train thousands of young people. You can't become a doctor in 6 months or a year or even a nurse, but there were certain characteristics of COVID that you could train thousands of young people to know how to deal with, know how to handle, and you could send people to poor countries to improve basic infrastructure and conditions, or like a public health force. We could have done things where people actually became part of defeating the disease. Instead, we did something where we just bailed out the banks with trillions of dollars, and got everybody totally isolated from each other and isolated from having a mission. Right? There was never a conception of we're going to have victory over this and people shouldn't die of illnesses. I mean, I actually think it's not acceptable to have 60,000 people die every year of the flu. Why do we think that's acceptable? Why don't we figure out how to cure these things? Why don't we figure out what the comorbidities are and do something about it? So you can sweep young people into a mission like that. I also think we should be designing and building new cities. Take New York City. One of my friends said we should just build a new, like the Chinese build a new city 40 miles away and move everybody out and fix the city from the bottom up. And then let people move back in if they want to. Or they might like the new city so much better. But we have no concept of growth. And I'm sure if I were in when I was in first grade, it was the last time we went to the moon. I happened to live in Albuquerque, New Mexico at the time, and Harrison Schmitt, who was one of the astronauts on the flight in '72, was from Albuquerque. So there was a particular great excitement, but every single kid, every single 6-year-old knew the orbits of the planets, what planet came where. We were disciplined for designing new rocket ships in the margins of our reading assignments. You would never think of shooting your teacher or spending hours trying to learn how to masturbate or the other things they're inflicting on children these days, because you had something that you wanted to do. You wanted to make sure you were qualified to become an astronaut. So I think that's first. A lot of people talk about education. I don't think you're going to have a successful education program unless the nation has a mission and there's a purpose where people know that they're needed.
It's interesting because I do think that the ambition for some kind of space exploration, I think it's almost instinctual for young people, for children in particular. I remember when I was growing up, I always wanted to be an astronaut. And I'm sure you're familiar with that survey that among the Chinese youth, that's the dream kind of aspiration of the Chinese youth, as opposed to the United States. And the dream here is to become a YouTuber or a TikToker or something. Right. So I think that's a profoundly winning message. And I think the reason it's a winning message is because we as human beings have an innate, sense of the need to expand and go beyond where we are now. And it's such a shame that is almost deliberately being repressed today. And, people are being sent to the opposite path, that, we can't go beyond where we are, and, we can't grow, we can't reproduce, we have to just be content with where we are now. I think that, especially in consideration of China's ambitions and Russia's as well, an international community of cooperation for things like space exploration, as well as geological, I don't know exactly what you would call it, cooperation and mastering the Earth. I think this would also, I think the possibilities are boundless. And it is just such a shame, in my view, that this is not even, I don't ever see politicians talking about this. I don't ever see politicians talk about how, but, there's all these culture war things going on and all these discourses going on. But what about what's beyond where we are now? What about this necessity of expanding and growing and reaching new possibilities, right? I never see politicians talk about that. And I do think at some fundamental level, it's a winning message.
Right. We have to reach people with it. And I mean, one thing I worry about is there's so much despair. That's the hard thing to cut through. And I think from that standpoint, again, a study of history is really worthwhile. Schiller put it poetically in one way in the Rootly Oath, there is a limit to a tyrant's power. When the oppressed shall seize their rights as inalienable as the stars themselves, something like that. We saw it in the Declaration of Independence. There's human beings, you're right, are born to be free. Human beings have an innate love of this principle of growth and discovery, and when someone tries to oppress that and stop it, at a certain point, you're going to, something's going to give. Something's going to give. Uh, Unfortunately, we have an artificial way of suppressing that innate love of progress, which is drugs. And I mean legal and illegal. Because now any child who doesn't conform in school is determined to have ADHD and put on Ritalin or I don't know what. You're not supposed to. They tell people it's bad to be depressed. If you're depressed, you should be put on medication. But, who wouldn't be depressed if everything around you is falling apart? Maybe it just shows you're actually more sane than everyone else around you, but you have to figure out a course of action to relieve your depression by actually doing something about the situation. And then you have, one of the things Schumer is trying to do is, quote unquote, legalize marijuana nationwide. And he pretends it's decriminalization. He pretends to say, oh, we've had this horrible war on drugs, which was really a war on black and brown people, and we filled the prisons. Well, we never had a war on drugs. Because a war on drugs would mean you'd put Jamie Dimon in jail, you'd put the drug money launderers in jail, and you'd shut down the poppy fields. We didn't have a war on drugs. We had a war on people, but we didn't have a war on drugs. So Schumer lies and says, well, since we've harmed all these poor people, what we've really got to do is make slavery legal in the form of addiction. And we're going to have these pot dispensaries, which are producing marijuana at 99% THC in the form of gummy bears and things that children are going to ingest. And a lot of money will now be legally laundered through the banking system as opposed to you having to hide it. And it will be run by big pharma, big tobacco, exactly the same financiers that everybody hates so much now. With the fringe benefit, they'll have more money, and you will destroy the ability of the population to become the kind of highly skilled, productive workforce that we need. I mean, this is just one of the most cynical, evil policies after we had 100,000 drug overdose deaths last year.
I think it is a profound crisis because you're so right, especially the marijuana craze. It has become so so embedded in the culture of the youth today that it has also come to shape their ideological, political, and cultural views, and it has cemented this inclination toward nihilism and purposelessness. Just this aesthetic of just complete irony and detachment, and I personally think that is a big obstacle. Is how do you really how do you really wage a real war on drugs, not only in terms of policy, and policy does have to play a part in that. A lot of people don't know Russia and China are very strict on drug. They have a zero tolerance policy, and yet they have not engaged in the same war on people that we have here. So a lot of people also don't know that the marijuana push is also being used geopolitically as a tool of imperialism against China and Russia and other countries. But I think the best remedy to combating the drug crisis is, as you alluded to, it's giving people a sense of mission and purpose in life again.
Yeah, I mean, it's really insane. The city of New York, now that marijuana is legal, recreational use of pot is legal across the state of New York, decided that they were going to ban drug testing for the NYPD and the fire department. And I mean, you think we have police shooting people? At any rate, happily, the NYPD said, no way, forget it. We are not doing that. We're going to continue the drug testing. However, the fire department went along with it, which I find really peculiar. I mean, it seems to me if you're going to be climbing up ladders in the middle of a blaze and doing things that really require you to have incredibly fine-tuned, motor skills and so on, you don't want to be drug impaired. But I think it also just shows what we've been discussing, this kind of lack of purpose. and people dulling their mind. And of course, I brought it up to get at sort of what you were saying, which is how do that people's desire to become Promethean, to make great discoveries, to do things that are new and exciting, is also muted artificially through drugs.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Um, as far as drug policy is concerned, do you have a specific platform or something, or is it more a kind of commitment to principle, and then kind of the
Well,
policy will come after?
I certainly don't agree with legalizing recreational drugs. Absolutely not. I think a lot of places that have done it are beginning to consider that they should roll it back because it's been so detrimental. Um, I think we should actually have a war on the production of these drugs. And we should, instead of using nations like Haiti as drug transshipment zones, stop the stuff. I know there were whistleblowers from the DEA who described the DEA was knowingly looking the other way to allow the ports there. And look at the poverty of Haiti. Look at that horrible situation. So we have to change that. Or Mexico, the Fast and Furious program of Obama, where we were sending weapons to the drug gangs in Mexico. Many times they were better armed than the Mexican military. And then you say, well, why are all these people trying to get out of their countries? Well, maybe if you hadn't turned their country over to a bunch of drug gangs, they would want to live there.
I know that Mr. Larouche he has also written about the connections between the international drug trade and the British Empire and the British monarchy in particular, which I find it fascinating. I mean, from the Opium Wars that are the reason for so much animosity between China and the West today, to to Latin America, the real forces behind this. I mean, on the one hand, it's people are profiting from it monetarily, and on the other hand, there appears to be this coincidental net benefit of drugs just so happening to be great limiters of human potential, effectively cementing and securing the rule of this international oligarchy.
Well, and very explicitly, I think one of the things the Russians are discovering on the Ukrainian prisoners that they're capturing is drugs. And this was also a factor in ISIS. And I think in Egypt, well, the word assassin and words like hashish, there was a relationship between the word for marijuana and the word for assassin, because they discovered if you want to have people commit horrible atrocities, it's good if they're not fully cognizant of what they're doing. So that's another way that drugs are used, is in these guerrilla warfare terrorist movements. Dope people up if you want to get them to commit atrocities against other human beings.
Yeah, I mean, and that certainly is probably a big contributor to the violence here in the United States. I mean, a lot of people laugh at the idea that there's a connection between, marijuana and psychopathy and violence, but I think, the evidence has pointed in a quite clear direction that there is a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. There is. There is. And I don't know all the details because I think they're trying so hard to push legalization that they quickly cover things up. Apparently, in that, I don't know that you would recall this, but a couple of years ago there was a horrible accident with a wedding party in a limousine that collided with an 18-wheeler on a hill here in sort of Westchester County or somewhere outside of New York City, and everybody in the wedding party died. It was just horrible. And apparently the driver of the limousine was a regular marijuana user. But that was quickly suppressed, and they went to look for other factors, which also existed, maintenance of the vehicle and this and that. But, you know, I think they shouldn't brush this under the rug, but they have to keep their narrative. Schumer always says, the horribles haven't happened. They tell you these horrible things, they never happened. There were no horribles. Everything's gone beautifully in the states that have legalized.
Uh, on another note, I'm also curious because the World Economic Forum has this rhetoric of like this fourth industrial revolution and the need for a great reset, which we know is a code word for their Malthusian agenda. But at the same time, it does appear that there is this, to put it in Marxist lingo, there is this revolution in the forces of production that is occurring. And is there a specific strategy or plan yourself or the Schiller Institute, you know, have, or even just a perspective on this profound kind of change in the so-called information age and the so-called gig economy? Is this all just a scam to distract us from the decline of manufacturing base, or does the future of industry in the United States somehow have to combine with this new paradigm?
Well, as you probably know, Helga Zepp Larouche has called for a new Bretton Woods committee, modeled in part on the original Bretton Woods, which I think occurred in 1944, just before the war ended, where FDR's intent was to level the playing field to make it possible for poor nations, formerly colonized nations, to get their independence. The International Monetary Fund and World Bank were never conceived by him to be the usurious dictatorial institutions that they became. And that system worked to a certain extent, at least to keep a certain stability when you had fixed exchange rates, the dollar tied to the gold reserve system, until Nixon dismantled that. Um, but I think also she's called for a new security architecture, and as you probably know, Putin had for some time been calling for an emergency in-person meeting of the UN Security Council. Now he hasn't repeated that because how could you when the United States is acting so insane and we have a president who seems to have dementia and being run by you don't know whom, and we have people in our military saying that nuclear war has gone from unlikely to likely. Makes it hard to have a partnership with the United States. But we have to get a shift in the United States that we have to work with these other nations. And we urgently have to go back to what we spoke about at the beginning of this conversation. Our nation has to go back to being that bulwark of anti-imperialism that our founding fathers intended.
Yeah, certainly. And, it goes to show that the anti interventionist or anti war perspective is not some foreign, import. It's definitely rooted in the very foundations of our country. And I think emphasizing that is very important. I mean, there are many on the left who claim to be anti imperialists, but shun any reference to the very founding of the country as if, as if it's more of a winning message to say that, oh yeah, although this goes against the principles upon which our country were founded, we should be anti-imperialists, rather than anti-imperialism is as American as apple pie.
Right. And then we wouldn't be threatened by what China is doing. In other words, why should we say, boy, look at them, they just got 800 million people out of poverty. Why don't we try and crush them so they're as miserable as we are? I mean, that is a really stupid attitude, as opposed to saying, hey, why don't we partner with China? Two of the things, I haven't really gotten a chance to write this up, it's been a little chaotic, but two of the things I wanted to actually think through were a program for the U.S. to jointly work with China on the modernization, industrialization of Haiti, because China had a beautiful design for modernizing Port-au-Prince, called by a company called Bati Haiti, which really should have been built, and Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is supposedly a protectorate or whatever of the United States. It's treated like, I mean, it's just disgusting the way we treat Puerto Rico, what wasn't done after the hurricane. And they have this incredible telescope, they have incredible scientific potential there. Arecibo, it's called. I had someone who produced a documentary about the telescope on one of my programs, and it's fascinating, and it was super advanced. People wouldn't even think of that. But we could collaborate with China to transform these situations. We could collaborate with China on rebuilding major infrastructure in this country. The projects that they've been involved in, like the Hamilton Bridge in New York, were extremely well done, and they were done ahead of schedule and under budget, which never happens. So there's a great deal to be gained from doing that.
Yeah, I mean, with that, I most certainly agree. And, yeah, I think it's important to have some sense of optimism and light against the tunnel as we're entering these very, very perilous and foreboding times. I've just mentioned the FBI raids recently, which is really the tip of the iceberg as far as the, disaster that seems to be in store for us in this country. But, I think what matters are the people who have a plan and who have a vision of survival and endurance. And not only survival, but expansion and going beyond where we presently are.
Yeah, I think that's true. I'm going to have to actually run pretty soon because I'm up against a horrible deadline.
Yeah.
I started a newspaper because I was expecting to soon be banned from Facebook and Twitter and other social media platforms, and I'm trying to get it finished.
I see. So, guys, if any of you guys are living in New York, it's not often that I do this. Mainly because I just cannot endorse Democrats or Republicans. But Diane is an independent, and I have never voted in my life. But if you are living in New York, coming up in the midterm elections, I can definitely give my endorsement to Diane Sare for U.S. Senate, 100%. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope if
Thank you.
those who are in my community living in New York show up on November 8th, to write
Great.
your name in. And
Yeah, well, they won't have to write it in. It's on the ballot. I
oh,
managed
my
to.
bad. Yeah, the
That's okay,
yeah.
surpass the outrageous threshold. And also, I'd like to just give out my website if people want to contact me to volunteer. We need people. It's sareforsenate.com, SAREFOR Senate.com. And people can send me a note if you want to help distribute the newspaper, write articles, join us at rallies in front of Schumer's office. Um, Try and get yourself on an honorary blacklist. Get active.
It's truly a badge of honor to get on the blacklist of the Ukrainian government.
Yeah, I think so. So thank you very much. I'm really appreciative of this time and the endorsement. And I hope we can do this again as we get closer to November.
Yeah, certainly. Thank you so much, Diane Sare. It was really an honor.
You're welcome. Good night.
Good night. All right, that was that. That was that. Oh man, I am glad I made that because I was like a minute late, and yeah, today was pretty crazy as well. Let me unpause the donations. Oh, thank you, Daniel Burke. Thank you. Thank you so much, Paperwin, for the 20 gifted. Shout out Paperwin for the 20. Guys, we got a lot to talk about today, but I didn't forget. I'll remember, right? I didn't totally forget. It will come back to me what I wanted to talk about specifically. But yeah, this was quite the day. Quite the day. And yeah, I'm going to start bringing on more guests and stuff. That's definitely going to be on the itinerary and on the agenda. But guys, I want to talk about Larouche for a second. Thank you so much. I didn't see the name. Give me a sec. Did not see that name. Alama or My Reezus, thank you so much for the 20, man. Appreciate you. Thank you, My Reezus, for the 20 gifted. Appreciate you. So, I don't know why people have such a... People are so negatively disposed toward Larouche and toward the Larouche people. And I really don't know. I really don't fucking know why, right? If you're doing it because, oh, well, they're not communists, they're not Marxists. But that hasn't prevented you from, like, endorsing AOC and progressive Democrats. It didn't stop you from fucking supporting Bernie Sanders in 2016. I remember in 2016, I was like, oh, yeah, Bernie's the wave, right? And as far as I can see, the Schiller Institute, you know, they're principled anti-imperialists. They're against the ruling class. You don't have to agree with everything that they say, but it's like, why are people so averse to them? I just don't fucking understand. I don't really get it. Like, you're okay with AOC and, you know, voting for Democrats and working with Democrats, but somehow this crosses the line. Why? I mean, it's really one of those things where, you know, unless you take Rockefeller money, you're a fascist. That's what all this shit really comes down to, right? And, you know, me, I try to, you know, wouldn't it be better to try to make as much common ground with people as you can? I mean, because as far as I'm concerned, I like their message. I like the message, you know, that of pro-growth and pro-production and pro-unleashing human potential. Like, that, I mean, and you can understand that within a Marxist frame very easily. I don't see why people have such a fucking problem with it, right? Well, I do actually. There's such like an innate it's really self-hatred. These people fucking hate themselves. They listen to this fucking like screamo punk, like, I hate my life, and they fucking just they have that edgy misanthropy with like, I hate these American consumers. It's like fucking Chapo Trap House when Chapo was celebrating the food shortages when that happened. By the way, guys, give me ones if you prefer no chat on the screen. Give me twos if you want the chat to appear on screen, because I kind of feel like this is better when there's no chat on the screen. I kind of feel it's nicer. What do you guys think? Ones if you... Wait, I forgot. Ones if you want it like this. Twos if you want chat on screen. Twos if you want the chat on screen. One if you want to keep it how it is. I forgot it again. Fuck. Alright, ones if you want it like this. Twos if you want the chat on screen. Alright? Ones if you want it like this. Twos if you want the chat on screen. Alright, twos is chat on screen. Alright, got it. Okay, everybody is kind of divided. There's a lot of division. There's a lot of division. Chat really just doesn't want to give me space. Like, I'm here, free, all alone, by myself. And I'm just, you know, it's so chill, it's so nice. But chat says, no, we want to be right next to you, Haas. And you guys want to be breathing down my necks. Alright, fine. Okay? Fine. Fine. There you go. Run wild. Ugh. Ugh. Oh, here they are. Oh, God. Oh, God. Could you guys at least have showered or something? Oh, my God. Here they are. God. Here they come. The doors are wide open. Oh, man. We just opened the doors, and they're here. Okay. Well, there goes my piece. There goes my piece. Anyway, I want to do some tests because I think I fixed my stream and my inability to like watch YouTube videos or whatever, that problem I was having. I think I might have fixed it. So let me see if I fixed it. And if I haven't fixed it, I'm just gonna be sad. So let's just see. Alright. Let's do internet, then properties, and then... Alright, let's see if I fixed it. have departed of reason. You have departed from the realm of the rational. This means that you have me. I think it works. Does this work? This works, doesn't it? I think it works. Does it work? I think it works, right? I think I fixed it. It was lagging a little bit, isn't it? Yeah, it was lagging. Fuck, I didn't fix it. Fuck. What a fucking nightmare. What a literal nightmare. Yeah, it didn't work. What an actual fucking nightmare. And I lost. Oh my god. I lost all my fucking viewers too. Oh no. I lost all viewers. I legit lost like 100 viewers because of that. Damn. Alright, we're not going to be able to react to anything. We're just going to be chilling and talking with Mr. Hayes instead. I don't know if you guys have been noting this. I've been noticing a really huge uptick in Twitter NPCs fucking bothering me. Like, being super fucking butthurt. I've noticed a huge uptick. Like a giant one. And I don't know how to fucking explain it. It's like, I haven't done anything new. But for some reason, these people have, like, embarked on this huge new campaign. Every time I react to... I can't react to videos. Which, honestly, at this point, is actually fucking my streams. Is this real?
Who was your favorite world leader to speak with? Who did you enjoy?
No way! Is this real? I want to see this. Let me see this.
Who was your favorite world leader to speak with? Who did you enjoy speaking with the most?
I mean, many of them. You know, the ones I did the worst with were the weak ones. We had weak leaders in the world, too. The ones I did the best with were the tyrants, and they all say, oh, he loves tyrants. He wants to be a tyrant now. I just, for whatever reason, I got along great with Putin. I got along great with President Xi of China. I got along great with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. And isn't that good? Isn't that better than having a nuclear war? I did. I got along great with him. I liked him. He liked me. He wrote me beautiful letters. He wrote me beautiful letters. I called them love letters, and the press said, he's saying he wrote letters. And they are. They are love letters.
So based. Okay, I want to talk about this new orientation, too, that a lot of people are overlooking. Almost no one's paying attention to it. But there's also a new orientation, which has a lot to do with... Let me show it to you. Steven Crowder is saying some dangerously based shit. If you can believe it. Yep, you heard that right. Steven Crowder is actually saying super based things. Which is just insane, right? Let me show it to you.
Any Republican right now in office or running for office who does not actively champion the defunding, the dismantling of our intelligence agencies, I will not vote for. Don't care who it is. Are you listening, Ted Cruz? Are you listening, DeSantis? Are you listening, Rubio? Are you listening, no? Any Republican right now in office or running for office who does not actively champion the defunding.
What the fuck, man? The Republicans are becoming the ones championing defunding the CIA and the FBI? What is going on? Right, isn't this something the left is supposed to be doing? Isn't it the left that's supposed to be at the fucking vanguard of wanting to rein in on these intelligence agencies and shit like that? Why is it that Republicans are so fucking based? There's just this huge fucking realignment. And Steven Crowder, of all people, I mean, that one shocked me. I always thought Steven Crowder was like the lowest fucking type of Republican there was, right? Where he was pretty much, because I know he was like a union, anti-union guy in the past, and I talk about real unions and shit. But I don't know, it's kind of seems kind of principled for him to even call out DeSantis and say, hey, you have to fucking defund these intelligence agencies or I'm not voting for you. That is fucking super principled and super based. And it makes me definitely have a way better impression of Steven Crowder than I used to. I definitely have a way better impression of that guy now that he's saying that. You know, meanwhile, this is, guys, let me tell you the world we live in. In the United States of America, the left is currently pushing war in Ukraine, war with China, pro-war, pro-FBI, celebrating the FBI, celebrating the CIA, calling Republicans traitors and Russian puppets. People still want to fucking believe there hasn't been a political realignment. I mean, there has. Look at this fucking Dark Brandon meme that's been going around. It's an openly Hitlerite fascist meme that's basically celebrating all of the fucking excesses of arbitrary power and authority that Biden and his administration is engaging in. Basically celebrating that as somehow like super badass and super cool and whatever. I mean, that's the fucking situation we now find ourselves in with the so-called Dark Brandon thing, you know? It's fucking insane. And it's fucking insane that this is being so overlooked by people, you know, to the point where nobody really has an understanding or an appreciation that while you're just playing partisan, whatever, team sports, you have become the far right. You, the liberals and the fucking leftists, you have literally become neo-Nazi far right Hitlerites. Right under your nose, while you were playing team sports, falling into the trap of red versus blue, you unwittingly became a fucking Nazi. Like a literal Nazi. Alright. I wanna see if I can leak these DMs without leaking too much. Yeah, I can link them. So guys, there's a guy named Frank the Socialist who sends me DMs. Okay. This should be fine. Alright, and I want to show them to you. Okay? Because I don't know how to respond. Alright, so Frank the Pussy sends me DMs. So this is what he sends me. Right? And then today he just sent me a bunch of DMs. Freak! And he sent me this. And then he also sent me this. Called me a snowflake. And then he sent this. And if you don't know who this guy is, this is like the most butthurt guy on the fucking internet. And I just like don't know how to like, what? Does he want to debate me? You don't want to debate me? What the fuck do you want? He is literally the most low testosterone cuck I have ever seen. This is not a man. This is not a male. Like, this is the most low testosterone beta male. I mean, this is the definition of a soy jack. This is a soy jack beta male who is just on a deranged butthurt tirade. Can't even fucking contain themselves. Here they are, Frank the Butthurt. Okay, this is Frank the Butthurt. And I'm frankly trying to get to the bottom of, like, what is Frank's problem exactly? Let's just, like, humiliatingly ratio him. Nobody likes TV. Alright, let's just say Frank the Butthurt. Frank the Butthurt. Let's just, like, give him, like, a fucking whopping, humiliating ratio that's gonna, like, give him psychological damage. Thank you, Ambrose.
I'm glad Diane
Ambrose, thank you so much, man.
I graduated last year and I can say that maybe half of my class regularly did varying types
Very
of drugs.
true.
and it's only spread to younger kids. It's a national emergency.
Thank you, Ambrose, for that first gifted of the night. I'm sorry, first dono of the night. We've had plenty of gifteds tonight, or we've had a few tonight, but that is the first dono of the night. Congrats, Ambrose, for the first dono of the night. Appreciate you, man. But yeah. Let's just like fucking let's give him like a really bad ratio. Yeah, we've already ratioed him quite severely. Oh no, they're catching up with us.
Base.
Oh no, they're catching up with us. It's a race.
Ice Age, now we got Sid from Toy Story. Frank.
Thank you, Mechadolphin. Appreciate you so much, man. Oh no, guys, but Frank is catching up. Frank is actually catching up. It's a race now. Frank might win. Look at him. Someone's watching the stream and trying to help Frank out. They're probably working in their group chats overtime. But, I mean, I really don't have that many viewers tonight, so, I mean, we might lose. Are we going to lose? They might catch up. We got Frank at 27. And then... Frank the butthurt! Oh, no! Is he going to catch up? At all? Are these just, like, his regular bots that like this? Let me see. Yeah, I think these are all bots. This is a bot. Let me see if I recognize anyone. Yeah, I recognize... Yeah, okay, this is the bot. Alright, this is not a real person. So, yeah, these are bots. Okay? Frank the butthurt. Wow, what a brutal ratio. What a brutal ratio. That's, wow. But he might catch up. Look at it. He's already at 30. Can we get it to 100? Let's try to get it to 100. I think if we get it to 100, we'll be in the clear for now, right? We just let Frank be. But yeah, the bots are working overtime. Clearly. Clearly the bots are working overtime. Frank the butthurt. Imagine being Frank, thinking you're just gonna like make some tweet, and then Haas comes and fucking does this. Imagine ruining... See, Frank, like, why would you DM me? Why? Why are you DMing me? Do you want to debate me, Frank? I mean, like, you can debate me right now. You can come on VC right now and debate me. But I have a feeling that Frank doesn't want to debate. I have a feeling Frank is just kind of a pussy who just talks shit in my you know, private messages. Let me see. Did he send another one? Nope, not yet. Okay, I don't know what the fuck that is. Well, no, he has not done so yet. It appears we are on the verge of a Frankopolis. By the way, guys, is my stream lagging at all? Are you getting any... Ones if you're getting lag. Ones if it's lagging. Twos if it's alright. Because it's kind of... Is it lagging at all? Because my fucking laptop is, like, really overheating. It's not lagging? I don't know what the fuck is wrong with this, honestly. I have no idea why it lags on my end. Alright, well, anyway, Frank. Let's see if Frank responds. I feel like Frank is just the perfect guy to bully. Just because, like, he's clearly got a problem, right? Frank is clearly a guy with a problem. Let's see. Frank, yeah, we got it. 100 people. But Frank is catching up because he's getting awfully close to reaching 40 likes on his end. So this could be quite the confrontation, quite the war of sorts. So yeah, this could be bad, guys. This could be really bad. But for now, I think we're in the clear. Thank you so much. Love, Tony.
Ratio Frank, no lag on the stream on my end, it's good.
Beautiful. So Frank the Butthurt. Is this him?
Science, because figuring things out is better than making stuff up.
It's Frank! There he is! It's Frank! That's officially Frank! And look, we have a furry. Oz the moron. It's a furry. Okay. Yeah, I think Frank's day was ruined by this. I don't know. Something tells me Frank is gonna have a pretty bad day after that. I think his day was ruined. What do you guys think? I think it was. Guys, I really think this laptop is, like, disgusting in the way that it's not able to fucking... It's not able to fucking... You know, like, broadcast videos. What the fuck is this? Is this Stone Ages or something? It's literally not able to broadcast fucking video. It's actually insane. That's actually fucking insane. I can't stream any videos on this laptop. I don't know why. I don't know what the fuck happened. But, you know, if I call tech support, someone's going to be like, and then no one's going to have an answer. Apparently my laptop just don't work for whatever fucking reason. I paid $2,500 for this laptop, by the way. I paid $2,500 for this fucking laptop just to be able to stream. And I cannot stream videos without it lagging. Are you looking to get a new laptop? I got this 1 year ago. Okay? I got this laptop 1 year ago. I don't want to get a new one. You needed 4,000. Update those drivers. I updated the graphics driver. I cannot return this. And it used to work, okay? I used this when I was in LA every single day. When I was in LA, I used it in LA. Okay? For some reason, it's just not working anymore. Dude, it used to work. It just fucking stopped working. I used to be able to react to videos on it. You know what? Okay. Whoever said, Jacob Soup, I'm permabanning you. I hate you personally on a very personal level. I actually despise the fact that you exist. And you are fucking banned forever. You spent 0 hours understanding how it works. You dumb fuck. How is a fucking laptop supposed to work to be able to use Streamlabs OBS to fucking react to videos? Is there a secret button I'm supposed to fucking know about, you dumb bitch? Supposed to take it apart or something? That's a given. You spent 0 hours learning how it should work. You're just talking for no fucking reason. I hate stupid fucking people who just fucking run their mouth. I hate these fucking stupid fucks just running their fucking mouth aimlessly. Don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. You said it spent time learning how your laptop works, Hayes. You dumb fucking bitch. You are literally the scum of the earth, and I personally hate you. I personally despise you, and you are the scum of the earth. That's my response to you. And yes, I do mean that. Yes, it is personal. Yes, I'm not joking, and yes, I mean that. Yeah, it's gotta be plugged in. Yeah, it is plugged in. Power mode, plugged in, better performance. I'm gonna do best performance. Maybe this will change it. I put it on best performance. So maybe that will change it. But I never had to do that before.
Based.
Thank you so much. Boboa. Hi. Boboa. Thank you so.
I'll have 2 honey ales, please. One for me and one for the lady. If you can call her that.
Coming right up.
How you doing?
It's still fucking lagging. It's a little better.
Fucking Draugr looking son of a bitch.
Nancy. Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah, it's
Nancy.
disgustingly
So great to
lagging.
finally see someone I know here.
It's disgustingly lagging. It's disgustingly lagging. Try a laptop cooler? Dude, I don't fucking think that... If I'm being honest, okay? I don't...
I'm sorry, sir. Do I know you?
Nancy, it's me, Joe. Look, I don't have any time for your jokes right now, Nancy. We need to find a way back to the White House. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to find a way back. And when I
God, the lag is horrible. It's just fucking disgusting. It's so fucking bad, and I don't know why. It's only when I start recording it on OBS. Like right now,
I'll come pick you
it's
up.
playing fine, right? Only when I start switching to the OBS scene in which it's recording do I start getting problems, and I don't fucking know why. But it gives me a lot of problems when I do that. When do I get my computer again? I get my computer again when I get to my new place. The place that I'm at now is not in Michigan, and it's not permanent. Okay? Place that I'm at now is not permanent. So my laptop is... I mean, my fucking computer is still in storage. Thank you so much, Bobo. It's not that bad. It is bad, dude. It's pretty bad. Alright? It's bad enough to where it, like, depletes. Shit. It's like, it's almost... The stream is almost undoable if I can't fucking react to shit. That's the issue. That's the fucking problem here. Maybe adjust the OBS settings for that screen. What would I address? I would love to know what I could possibly fucking address. Okay, maybe I can do something.
Listen, I got to get my price down, Nancy, but good seeing you. I'll be back for you.
Oz in Tel Aviv confirmed.
Thank you, Boboa. I don't know what the fuck it is. I really don't know what it is. I have no idea what the fucking problem is. Yikes. Yikes. Thank you, Boboa. I really don't give a fuck about views tonight because I kind of feel like we're just going to get raided by Jackson soon. Kind of have a feeling. So I don't give a fuck. Everyone can just leave, bitch. I don't give a fuck, bitch. I'm not trying to make anyone stay tonight. I could literally sit on my ass and fart all night and I'll still get like a ton of fucking boost views for this. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Boa Boa.
You guys think one of the reasons I'm getting less viewers now is because this setup is too nice. You guys think that's part of the reason? Every time I move to a new setup, it sets me back. And I feel like there's something magical about my old setup. Is it you guys think that's the reason? You guys think that's the reason? Do you think that it could be... You think it could be like... Also, like, I don't wear the beaters anymore and shit like that? It's too opulent. Do you think so? I think that could be a reason. Lol, maybe you need to start stream at a different time. Dude, why don't you make a new account to ever... I'm banning you forever from this channel. I'm sorry. Like, I never want to see you such a... Like, you have just said something so fucking stupidly fucking frustrating that I never want to see you in my fucking chat again. Fucking dumb bitch. Oh, started at a different time, Hawes. Start your stream at a different time. What? The fuck do you mean started at a different time, you dumb fuck? You literal dumbass. You mean what I've just already did is fucking... You mean how I've just already fucking started streaming way earlier? Jesus, what a dumb fuck. If I cannot react to shit, I'm kind of having a crisis. Someone better come debate me right now. Because not being able to react to shit is actually fucking insane. Alright, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to do the Q&A podcast. Okay? I'm going to do the Q&A podcast right now. And that's what we're going to do. Okay? We're going to do our Q&A podcast right now. Okay? Which, in this one, I'm going to take my time with it as well. To answering questions. Alright. Wow, we have a lot of questions for this one. No, we don't, actually. We have like 20 questions. Alright. Alright. Get ready for this week's Q&A podcast. Alright? Ready? Here we go. Okay, so... Thank you so much, Boogaboo, for being a patron. Right? Is this video still private? China have sig... No, it's not. Okay, thank you so much, Bosch is Ped. Appreciate you and your beautiful name. What a great name. What do you make of George Gross? I've seen a couple of your thumbnails that have his paintings. How large of an influence was New Objectivity on the Infrared Collective? Good question. Thank you, Love Tony.
How comfy is your chair compared to your old one? And do you like your current setup more than the last one?
It's way more comfy. It's obviously way more comfy. And yes, I prefer the... No, I hate... If this laptop worked well and I could react to content, then I would love this way better. That's the one drawback from this fucking setup, is the fact that I cannot react to videos. But otherwise I like this better, way better. Oh yeah, miles better. I mean, light years better. I like it way better. Okay. As far as George Gross is concerned, he was one of the biggest influences on infrared as an idea, because infrared, remember, is also an aesthetic project, and George Gross's New Objectivity is what we have termed the theoretical orientation of infrared, believe it or not. Not necessarily, infrared was inspired by new objectivity, 1000%. And the reason for that is because George Gross, he was a German painter, and he was painting the degeneracy and decay of the Weimar Republic. And the idea of new objectivity was kind of a response to German expressionism, which was extremely emotional and extremely, caught up in the kind of German sense of feeling and whatever. And new objectivity was basically saying we're in a new American pragmatic era, and we have to return to a new matter-of-factness, right? And George Gross's new objectivity was dealing basically with this destruction of the old German world, the emergence of this new American world. And the way he depicted that was, in my view, I think it was a rejection and overcoming of the Anglo-Saxon substance in favor of this kind of more future-oriented sense of objectivity that is corresponding to the American era. And I argue something similar is happening today with China in regards to America. But new objectivity for George Gross was depicting the breakdown and the collapse of an entire world, right? And an entire, society, basically. That's more or less what we were dealing with there. Thank you so much, Natsuki. Thank you for being a patron. Hey Haas, how does Islamic oneness and dialectics relate/differ? Was there ever a type of synthesis between the two? Or are they diametrically opposed to one another? Thank you. Okay, my answer is going to be
based.
Thank you, Joshua.
Pause. Any work/thinkers that you suggest we look into first before attempting to study Hegel?
Look, dude, I get this question a lot, okay? I get this question a lot, and just Kant, all right? Kant. So the question of Islamic oneness and dialectics. In my view, it's already implicit in Islam. It's already implicit there. And the reason is because the Islamic oneness it's a oneness of excess, is my argument. The Islamic one is not a oneness of the mending of the dialectic into a unity. It's not the oneness of the crucifixion, it's the oneness after the crucifixion. Which basically means Islamic one is the oneness of the dialectic itself. The unity in the unity of opposites, but not insofar as it culminates into a single moment, but insofar as it is the common thread of eternity across the dialectic itself, across not only human history, but the history of the cosmos. Why is there a Keck W in the fucking chat? Why? What is funny about what I said? Why am I seeing the fucking Keck W face? Demian, thank you so much for being a patron. What is a rebuttal I can use against Karl Popper's paradox of intolerance? Well, it's a paradox. It's inherently paradoxical. That's the problem. Also, how do you determine intolerant people, right? How do you determine what is or isn't intolerant? That's the question, really. But the paradox of intolerance is just fascism, right? That's what you don't need to necessarily have a rebuttal. All you have to do is point out honestly and accurately at that it's just fascism. It's nothing more than that. Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate you. What are your main breaks from the contribution of Michael Parenti, and why do you hesitate at times, in my view at least, in recommending his work to us? Thank you in advance. I'm hesitant because he's very much for beginners, and I'm not dealing with just beginners is the issue, and also I'm trying to have new beginnings, and it's hard for me to I mean I don't know. It's a good question. I mean I haven't really been hesitant. I've recommended the People's History of Ancient Rome several times, but I just think other leftists are pushing Parenti a lot already, so it's like why do I? It's not like he's being underrated, right? At least as far as what I can see. But I don't really recommend people that much often in general. T, thank you so much for being a patron. What's the difference between socialism with Chinese characteristics versus Stalin socialism in one country? Well, in essence, there isn't supposed to be, but the way that the Soviet revisionists or the Soviets, actually not even the revisionists, but the Soviets interpreted socialism in one country was along the lines of a general formula, a kind of formulaic view. Like, okay, there's socialism in one country, but there is a general guideline for how to accomplish socialism in one country. And socialism with Chinese characteristics is a rejection of that. So it has to do with the specific idiosyncrasies of the Soviet system, and the way in which the Chinese were pushing back and saying, no, we have different conditions, we have different circumstances, and we're not going to just adopt the Soviet system. So that is what it's mainly about. I believe Peace USA maintains a stance against socialism with Chinese characteristics, but for socialism in one country. I mean, I'm not in Peace USA, so I don't. And is the Peace USA rejection of this similar to Stalin's rejection of Titoism as a specifically Yugoslav form of Marxism-Leninism? No, because Titoism was a form of opportunism, whereas Mao's contribution... I mean, socialism with Chinese characteristics, I don't know if you know this, it comes from Mao. It doesn't come from Deng Xiaoping, it comes from Mao, okay? So, yeah, I mean... Ian, thank you so much for being a patron. What do you think about the field of economics? Do you think we should borrow some insights from this field? Or is it totally irreconcilable with Marxism? It depends. Generally, no. No. As a formal university discipline, it's superstition and it's worthless. However, there are people who identify as economists, like Michael Hudson, and also Lyndon LaRouche, I would argue, who would be very useful for Marxists to study in terms of understanding their insights. Jan Bread, thanks for being a patron. Do you think Deng's reforms and the opening up panned out for China in the exact way Deng intended? It was in a risky way that without later anti-corruption crackdowns and other socially necessary national development could have led to a new kind of low-wage serfdom. There's also a risk of poor party leadership to come after Deng. Can you speak of what Deng was thinking in his decision? I don't think Deng was acting ahead that way, because why would he be, right? Deng is not the omnipotent universal emperor for all time, of China. He's dealing with an immediate question. So I just think in a lot of ways the question is kind of... I mean, did it pan out as I mean, as far as he was concerned, yes. Okay, but Deng was... China doesn't... It's not a one-person dictatorship. It's just not how that country works. Okay, so... you have to understand that it's already implied that this is going to have ramifications that have to be dealt with on a collective level by the party. Boki, thank you so much for being a patron. I've heard you talk about China being socialist, but that it does not base its production on it. You could use their foreign development as an example of that. Could you please talk about the nature of that development and how it is not capitalist? Or at least direct us to some sources that talk about the nature of that development? I really forgot the book, but yeah, there's a good book written by a Chinese scholar about the specific course of development under Deng within China. But I have literally forgotten it. I'm sure if you go in the Discord, there'll be a lot of recommended readings. If you just ask around, people will give you something. Because I think the one I'm talking about was also pretty sure it was shared in the Discord. Sam, thank you so much for being a patron. Can you discuss how you first encountered Heidegger and what you believe his significance should be for Marxism-Leninism in the age of multipolarity? Thank you. Should I just start scolding patrons and shit like an asshole? This person supports me and they paid for it being able to ask a question, but like I feel like being an asshole and just being like, dude, it's literally in our first video on the fucking channel. What is infrared all about? And there's like a million videos and clips of me talking about this. Like, why would you ask this? Nah, okay. Well, you paid for it, so I'll give it to you. So there's two questions here. How did I first encounter Heidegger? I was trying to look for the common thread in a pattern I noticed because Zizek, Georgia Bataille, Kojev, I mean even Nick Land, all these Deleuze. I was trying what happened where there's this new way of thinking. And a lot of people say, oh, it's postmodernism. No, you're not educated, right? So what happened? And then I realized Heidegger was the common denominator. And also, who was my introduction to Heidegger specifically? It's about that peasant in the Black Forest thing he wrote. It had the biggest impression on me. Because I was also trying to, before Heidegger, right, trying to theorize the significance of the peasantry and what that was. So Heidegger, and also, I was dealing with the national question, understanding the basis of statehood, nationality, things like that. So eventually, an encounter with Heidegger became inevitable because he was dealing with something very similar. Stalin is, and then the other question is, what should his significance be for Marxism-Lenin in the age of multipolarity? It should be trying to understand the grounding of Marxism-Leninism, because many MLs in the West think that Marxism-Leninism is grounded in the ideas of Marxism-Leninism rather than concrete material realities. But when you tell them concrete material reality, they also make these things of thought. Oh, you mean like the concrete material reality of wage labor? No, that's still abstract. Concrete material reality, as in the actual reality. Before you've made it a thing of your institutionalized scientific consciousness. So there's Heidegger for me. Heidegger is dealing with the question of how are we grounded before we think about the way in which we're grounded, before we define how we're grounded by thought. What grounds our sense of meaning? These are things that belong in the realm of phenomenology and intuition, not not theory. Stalinism, thank you for being a patron. Do you think that there's any merit to trying to do activism in any capacity? No. I hate feeling I'm posting online, but it's such a risk due to doxing concerns. No, there's no reason to canvas or hand out flyers. I mean, it depends. What are you doing, right? Right now, no. Unless you're supporting an electoral candidate, or you're doing like the high-level avant-garde ideas, like the fair idea I just proposed, you're probably wasting your time. And I'm being completely honest with you. Okay, Tagon. And when I say canvassing, I mean canvassing for Democrats. Obviously, canvassing for independents or communists is a good thing. A good thing for getting good experience and shit, you know? Okay, Tagon, thank you so much for being a patron. Hey, Haas. Do you see Kantbot and Logo comment on the CPI conference opening? I support Caleb and the gang, but you always emphasize how important it is to be accessible to the common man. I don't really think they commented that much on it, to be honest. They didn't. Not really that much. However, I will say I'm not really like in disagreement with what they said, you know? I'm really not in terms of I'm not going to say that in public, but you know, I agree with them pretty much, you know, to be honest. Marcus, thank you so much for being a patron. Are there any plans for more collaborations with Logo and Kantbot? Yeah, there is. Of course there is. I always ask Kantbot to come on. I always DM him, but he's always busy and stuff. But I really want to bring Kantbot on again, especially. And Logo, obviously. But I haven't talked to Kantbot in like a year, that's why. Ahmed, thank you so much for being a patron. What vision do you think Stalin had for the post-war Soviet Union? What sort of fundamental reforms paralleling China's undertake, as described in the Stalin video in the channel, were considered at the time? Probably an expansion of the kolkhozes as an institution. Probably a strengthening of that base of the economy. Probably more decentralization. I don't know if it would be I don't know if you would see Deng's reforms happen, but you probably would see a more decentralized, you know, economy. You probably would see the kolkhozes get strengthened as a fundamental aspect of the Soviet economy, rather than just a temporary thing that has to be absorbed by the what are they called? Solkhozes, the state-run enterprises. Basically, Stalin wanted an expansion of the collective form of property. He did not want an expansion of the state-owned property. He wanted to deepen and expand the institution of collective property, which was categorically different from state-owned property. Okay, there were also going to be political reforms, which would deepen the Soviet state at the expense of the party. So Soviet democracy gets a boost. The party, in terms of the scope of its functions, decreases. Yeah, artels. More artels. Definitely. That's definitely also true. The artels, the kolkhozes, yeah. Definitely. Demian Smirnov, what are the origins of wokeness? The Ford Foundation. A combination of multiple things. Changes in the forces of production, which changed our relationship to phenomenal reality. The Ford Foundation and this, the Cold War civil society institutional complex that was built as well as the fall and the decline of the American Empire. I think these are the three key factors. Der Cherisker, thanks so much for being a patron. What is your opinion on DPRK troops in Ukraine? Dude, fake news. I have not been shown any evidence of that. There's clips circulating on Twitter that are 100% fake news, okay? That is fake news. That's not a real thing. It's not actually happening. So let's stop spreading the fake news, okay, guys? Michael Cole, what do you think about Nassim Taleb and what are his main errors, drawbacks? I think I really used to like him, and then he became cringe because of COVID, and ever since then he's been pretty cringe. Do you think there's more merits to talking more about anti-fragility? Yes. In relation to politics, especially considering Taleb favoring small states and hating big states. That's his problem, you know? That's where everything fucked up. Taleb's a very interesting guy. Anti-fragility is very much a Dengist notion. And there's no such thing as Dengism, by the way. But I'm saying that because you know, like as a meme, right? As a joke, tongue-in-cheek. But yeah, it does help explain why Deng's reforms were good. Because basically, Nassim, he's basically talking about how these... Fuck off, Siri! Why is Siri just turning on? Because, he's talking about how the more an institution or a given entity accumulates the burden of risk, the more it becomes fragile to events like a black swan event that would not be foreseen by it. Yeah, Taleb was a big influence on me, actually. You know, there's this weird, interesting relationship between Taleb's idea of a black swan and Badiou's notion of an event, and also the Heideggerian notion of an event. And I think that's very interesting. I think there's this weird, interesting relationship between the Marxist notion of revolution, you know, Badiou's notion of an event, Heidegger's notion of an event, and Taleb's black swan. So I think that's a super interesting connection to be drawn, actually. Thank you, Exo Shell, for being a patron. Thank you, Love Tony.
My question isn't serious, however. What's a dream vacation destination for you?
I don't know. I really don't know. I don't really want to go anywhere. I want to stay in Michigan. I don't believe, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I like being in the middle of the ocean, to be honest. I like being on boats in the middle of the ocean. That's my dream. My dream destination is on a boat in the middle of the ocean. Because wherever you go, I mean, it's just going to be fucking boring, right? And everywhere's the same. Guys, let me tell you, so everywhere's the same. There's always going to be the bar that people go to drink. You're always going to find women wherever you go. It's always going to be the same. Nothing will ever be different no matter where you go. Yeah, you can go to like a tropical place, whatever. Okay, good. You can go there. Have fun, right? Everywhere is pretty much the fucking same. So I don't really have one. Disney World. I don't want to go to Disney World. Yeah, that's where I want to go. Disney World. Yeah. Was Saddam Hussein a socialist? I don't really like these questions, dude. Maybe you should refund your patron. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I really hate your question a lot, and I'm gonna answer it because you paid for it. But I just want to let you know, like, that is a question I really don't like at all because it's kind of fucking like pointless. Like, why are we trying to gatekeep terms like socialist? Like, who gives a? Was he a real socialist? Or, like, why are we gatekeeping that word? I don't know why, right? I mean, like, the way I see it's like, okay, if someone calls himself a socialist, cool, you're a socialist. I don't give a fuck. I'm not gonna gatekeep that term. Whatever that term means to you is what it means to you, right? So if Saddam I mean, I don't care, right? I don't know what you're asking. I don't think Saddam's vision for Iraq was viable or sustainable. And that's my answer to you, okay? I don't know why we're gatekeeping the word socialism when we could just get right to the meat and potatoes. I think Saddam is a socialist! I hate these fucking annoying questions because it leads to annoying people, like, throwing I insist that Saddam is a... No, it's not... Bro, fuck off. I don't... You know what I mean? In general. Like... I'm sick of the... Look, you know what? I'm not allowed to say it. Autism is a big problem in this country. It's just a big fucking problem. I'm gonna be honest. It's a big fucking problem. It's a really big fucking problem. It's a really big, big pandemic. A very big pandemic. Everyone is a socialist, alright, dude? Everyone's a socialist. Literally everyone's a socialist. It's not, there's no meaning to being a socialist today. Tyler Bishkol. Who are some relatively positive and populist U.S. presidents that patriots should admire in the present day? Lincoln? I can't tell you anyone but Lincoln, to be honest. Lincoln. Sankaras, I noticed you got excited when you talked about your vision for a Marxism 101. Have you given it more thought? I just wanted to say I really like the idea. Thank you. Appreciate it, Sankaras. Jason. Thank you for being a patron. What constitutes a pole in the emerging multipolar world in your opinion? Good question. I think a pole has to have the ability to localize the world system created by the US after World War II, which means create a like safety net of credit back industrialization toward other countries. There's something in the sphere of political economy that will define this. But I think polarities have a lot to do with like centers and foundations of economies. Where is the economy actually centered? When I say centered, I don't just mean this in terms of like a financial capital. I mean this in the sense of like, what is the basis of production itself? So that's where I would look. That's where I would begin to look. Jayska, how would you explain the disconnect between Western leftists that idolize Che Guevara and the legacy of Che himself? In other words, why do you think that is such an impressive, principled figure attracts the likes of repulsive leftists to the point of worship? Isn't this like your second question, dude? I feel like the answer is contained in your question. Like, I feel like you're just kind of trying to make a statement. I don't know what you want me to say. Like, Do you... I think they liked Che because he was like this romantic, rebellious figure, you know, of a guy who individually stood up against imperialism and the system, and they just projected a lot of their own like petty bourgeois hippie bullshit on him without knowing anything about himself or caring. He was a charismatic face. I don't know if it's that deep, to be honest. I don't think it's as deep as your question is framing it to be. I honestly think this is just not as deep as, you know, I don't really think we have to pontificate upon this that deeply. I could be wrong. Seeker, thank you so much for being a patron. I think you've hinted, but can you expand your opinion of the al-Assads and especially Bashar? What do you mean my opinion? What do you mean my opinion of the al-Assads? They rule Syria. They're the family that rules Syria. Bashar is the leader of Syria. Like, what do you want me to say? I don't know what I could say, dude. What do you mean my opinion? If you asked for my analysis, that would be one thing. But you're saying my opinion. I don't know. What opinion could I possibly have? All I could do is give you a description. I don't know what else I could... I don't know, dude. I'm gonna try to answer it. I'm gonna try to answer it, but it's like... Okay, I'll just give you some context. Alright, Syria used to be ruled by a very left-wing Ba'ath party under Salah Jadid, and they were kind of adventuristic. They wanted to invade Jordan and possibly invade other Arab conservative states and like kickstart an Arab revolution. And then Hafiz al-Assad came into power. He curtailed this. He wanted to form more pragmatic alliances to create a kind of chessboard strategy to defeat Israel and focus more on Israel rather than the conservative Arab states. And he was also much more conservative. He didn't want to, you know, embark upon the very ambitious wealth redistribution plan as Salah Jadid. And he kind of wanted to have a more mature, pragmatic outlook in terms of the ruling of Syria. Bashar, who is his son, came to power in the context of the end of the Cold War, and Bashar, to the extent of my knowledge, was very much the most pro-Western leader Syria had ever had. He was Western educated, very much acculturated in a Western way, and you know, there was the Damascus Spring in the early 2000s. There was a kind of color revolution in Syria. Oh, Jackson Raid, thank you so much for the raid, Jackson. They kind of had their color revolution in Syria, which they attempted one, which kind of led the government to kind of, you know, basically the orientation of Syria before the civil war was very much like, we're going to kind of slowly achieve liberalization. That's the extent of my knowledge. But the Civil War changed all that. And, you know, Syria's political future is now not very clear. Jan Bread, thanks so much for being a patron. What the role of psychoanalysis for you as a non-clinician? The role is basically an acknowledgement that we do not we have an unconscious, first of all, and we have an unconscious which conditions our desires and enjoyments, or at least defines them in some kind of way, and that unconscious is not voluntarily determined by our consciousness. We cannot determine our unconscious according to, you know, the modern consciousness of ideas, concepts, and principles. The concept does not actually determine the content of the mind. The mind is not determined by the content of concepts, at least insofar as that content is the explicit form. You feel Lacan's system is complete. I don't know what you mean by that. Thank you, Love Tony.
Is a nice place for a vacation. If you would be president of the world for a day, what would you do?
I would nuke the world. Just kidding. If I could be president for the day, I would invade Canada, probably. Be the first thing I did. And then after invading Canada, I would... Yeah, I don't know. I think I would... I don't know. I would invade Canada. I don't know what else to tell you. That's all I can think of doing. I would invade Canada. I can't really think of any other things I would want to do. You feel Lacan's system is complete. I don't know. I guess. It depends on what sense. What are you trying to ask? No. But Lacan didn't think so either. And what system are you talking about? Even in conversation with the average person, many impasses can be worsened with an amateur psychoanalysis, deeming the unperson as unstable, perverted, delusional. It seems mostly useful outside of a professional setting as a rhetorical device. No, it's more... it's more of understanding the hidden laws. That actually determine the sphere of the pathos. I don't think it's primarily as a retort. I think it still serves an analytic function. It's just that analysis cannot take the form of an institution. Lacan believed in this idea of, like, you know, free associations of people. I don't believe in that either. I think psychoanalysis primarily has to confine itself to a private setting. The minute psychoanalysis becomes enshrined on the formal charter of an organization, you have a fucking clown show, okay? Whether as an institutionalized form of knowledge, as expert science, or as some kind of, like, you know, super ego of an organization, that would be a complete perversion. I think it's more like a wisdom. I think that's what I would call psychoanalysis. It's more of a wisdom. And by the way, I think many of the insights of psychoanalysis can become superfluous when we use them as a hermeneutic device with which to understand the history of mysticism, philosophy, and religion. But I think where psychoanalysis is important is the necessity of keeping an openness by way of the matheme. To me, the matheme is the most important thing. Because when you get caught up in a dogmatic concept or precept and you just become fixated on it, it becomes your symptom, and you can't conceive that there's a deeper form to this that really has no regard for the substantial content. I think that's how you kind of fall into traps in many ways. You fall into traps. Inescapable traps of mental slavery. So I like psychoanalysis because it allows us to understand that we find ways of enjoying things independently of their substantive content, their explicit content. There's deeper laws to these things. I think that's a good way of putting it. Also, I think there's a very much a different chronos of psychoanalysis. I think psychoanalysis is a backwards transcription. It's a means of transcription. That's what I would call psychoanalysis. Meaning the object of psychoanalysis has already happened. And that's a very important thing people tend to miss. It has a role of backwards transcription. Like, you know, the content, the object of analysis is not itself determined by analysis. That's very important to understand. Psychoanalysis is just a way to initiate ourselves to a reality that should be intuitive to us, that should make sense to us on a level deeper than, some expert knowledge or some axiomatic knowledge or some kind of, technical knowledge. Also, do you factor in spirit matter in your application of psychoanalysis? Yes. Or evil, as you mentioned? Yes, I do. Specifically, around the axis of meaning. So for me, evil is to me, evil is basically psychosis. The foreclosure of meaning roughly corresponds to evil in the proper sense to me. The foreclosure of meaning to the point in which all that is left is this kind of meaningless circuits of drive and jouissance and enjoyment. I think at that point you are in the realm of evil, right? Also, enjoyments that go wild, like Bloodborne, where you just have these freaks of nature emerge, these recursive monstrosities that seem to be completely meaningless and yet work somehow, right? Like you see these monsters in Bloodborne, they don't seem meaningful. They just seem like it's like a Frankenstein monster that seems to be able to work. Like this thing is a disaster, but it's still alive somehow, right? And I think that's also my view of evil from a psychoanalytic perspective. People can find themselves enjoying really weird things, getting trapped in circuits of jouissance that involve sadism and gore and incest and all sorts of perversion and demented whatever. Thank you, Emilio. All sorts of shit like that, and then basically it works, right? It's a monstrosity and it's not viable. It doesn't reproduce in the long term. And maybe it's not viable in the long term either, but it works. That's to me where evil is, I think. But it's not a good description specifically. I'd have to give it more thought. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this link. Okay, I'm going to post it to the Patreon.
Good morning, Revolution.
All right. There we go. Published. Thank you, Love Tony. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. I don't think Jordan Peterson is a particularly good psychoanalyst, actually. But guys, I What did I want to talk about today? What did I want to fucking talk about? Damn, this is crazy. Can I show you guys something? So the Patsock Moments account posted this. It did really well too. And let me show it to you. So this is actually a neo-Nazi who hates infrared. As you can see, they put the transgender flag and the David Star next to the grills and sun because they're trying to like say like infrared is Jewish controlled and is all transgenders or whatever. And it's literally called the Balding Bolshevik. And this is like one of our most hostile trolls who actively tries to dox me all the fucking time. And the Patsock Moments account posted this retweet they made as like one of us. So in 1,100 people liked it, and you know that's 1,100 people who now are convinced that you know this is our movement, whatever, right? And Haas should be super angry about. I don't care anymore. I don't give a fuck. You listen. This is what I want to leave you guys with. The more you fight for the truth, the more vain you appear. The more they're just gonna say, you're crazy, you're crazy. Fine. This is a fake ass fucking world. If I can get enough people to walk away with the fact that this is a fake world, that would be better than defending the truth doesn't seem possible anymore. It just doesn't. I am demoralized in terms of defending the truth. I just what do you want me to do? I'm not gonna fucking convince the people who see these lies and falsehood that they're wrong. I'm just not. There's nothing I can do. There's literally nothing I can do about it, okay? So I don't give a fuck anymore. If all I can do is just prove that this is a world of lies and that it's all lies, that'll be enough to me. As far as truth is concerned, whatever. I guess nothing is true. Truth doesn't fucking matter, guys. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares. No one cares. The more that look, people could literally say, "Haas, you are literally Adolf Hitler," and I'll be like, "No, I'm not Adolf Hitler." And then everyone, and they're all. I look like I'm vain, and I look like I'm being defensive, and it makes me look worse. So what do? Just accept the lie, I guess. Don't fight the lies. What do you fucking do? There's nothing you can do. There's literally nothing. I just want you guys to know this is a world of lies. Everything you see is a lie. Like literally everything you think you know is wrong. Pretty much everything you think you know is wrong. Nothing is real, pretty much. It's all lies. Forget it, it's Chinatown, you know, as they say. Forget it, Tony, it's Chinatown. Whatever they said in that movie, right? Every time you try to defend the truth, it just like makes you look worse somehow. So why even do it? There's no point.
Based.
Thank you,
Great
Love Tony.
stream. Have a good night. Forget about the haters.
Good morning, Revolution.
Good morning, Revolution for Robbie. Thank you so much, man. Thank you, Dostoevsky.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Good morning, revolution.
Thank you so much, Jahan. Appreciate you. There's another thing too, right? I want to show you guys. Not that it matters, because it doesn't. I guess. God, it fucking smells bad. I don't know why it smells so fucking bad. Yeah, just like shit like this. Daily reminder, Patsock is not a thing. They are Nazis. Yeah, but like not actual Nazis are like doxing us and attacking us 24/7 and shit. But who cares about the truth though, right? Like who actually cares? Doesn't even matter. Nothing is real anyway. We can just like make up whatever we want, right? Doesn't even matter. Can someone try to convince me otherwise? I'm not speaking in ideological terms. I'm not talking about my opinion. I'm not talking about my perspective. I'm not talking about something that can be negotiated or like argued. Thank you, Julia.
White pill. Humans have an intrinsic understanding of truth. We are drawn to it like a moth to flame. Your enemies are actively fighting truth and it is making them crazy. Their souls are rotting.
Thank you, Julius. If there's an objective contrast between if we live in an empire of lies, the only thing I find peace in is the idea of the world being destroyed. You can't fight against lies. You just can't. The lies win. So what is catharsis except destruction? Is there any catharsis except destruction? That's the case. I think the only beautiful and cathartic thing is everything being destroyed. I think that's all that's left. I think destruction doesn't have to be argued. It's just a fact. No one can lie about destruction. If the world is destroyed, are they going to lie about that? No. Silence is irrefutable. That's my view. Silence alone is irrefutable. And I think that's what this country could use nowadays. I think we could use more silence. Forcible silence, actually. But every day I become more convinced of that, you know? Every day I become more and more convinced that there's no saving the world at all. I think that contrast is the splitting of the atom. The contrast between the actual truth that's not refuted. I mean, it is not, like black and white, irrefutably the facts, right? Like, for example, the fact that we are not Nazis. The fact that not actual Nazis hate us, have done damage to us, and they are literally taking shit neo-Nazis are saying and attributing it to us, even though those people are irrefutably and explicitly against us. That's a fact. But thousands, if not tens of thousands of people believe the contrary, right? I feel like that is splitting the atom on a metaphysical level. Like, I feel like that is worthy of the destruction of this world. Just things like that, right? And if you want to take it to a bigger level, the way the media is lying about Ukraine and lying about China and lying about Xinjiang, I mean, these kinds of lies, I think, objectively destroy the world and make only one outcome possible. That's what I think. Why do you let troll... No, it's not that I let troll accounts get to me. It's that I have to be forced to confront the fact that the overwhelming majority of people are going to believe things about you that are objectively not true and for which you have zero responsibility for. And wow, until you can realize that, you need to shut your fucking mouth. Because I feel like a lot of you have not ever realized that. Like, this is a world of lies. This is an empire of lies. What can you fucking do? I mean, they really believe it. You know, the majority of people really believe it. There's nothing you can do. Nothing. Except pray that this world gets what it deserves. I just want things to get what they deserve. You know, it's not that I want to destroy. I don't want to destroy the world. How can I couldn't destroy the world? Stupid, right? But it's like I think everything will get what it deserves, right? And it's not looking good for the world based on how much lies rule over us. You know, like that's what I mean. Like it's just not looking good for us as a society. And honestly, I think when the time comes, I might feel cathartic, you know? I don't think I'm going to be like, oh my god, this is the worst thing ever. I think I'm going to be like, wow, that's been a long time coming. Thank God it happened, right? I'm just being honest with you guys. I'm just being honest. I'm not really scared of any apocalypse that ever happens. I'm just kind of like, psst. We all get what we deserve. I think that's the best revenge. We should just probably just be like, yo, when these people are suffering and shit, we should just when these like lefties and whatever, like when they start suffering badly, we are gonna have so much fun laughing at them. We're gonna have so much smiles on our face and so much catharsis, so much release. And I think that's what I look forward to, right? I do. What else can you do? Pessimism and hopelessness is the elites want us to feel. Dude, I'm just sick of complaining about lies. Like, what do you want me to do? I have not succeeded in fighting lies. I just don't think I have. Have I? Have I? Have I convinced people on a large scale of the truth? As far as the misrepresentations are concerned, I don't think I have. I think people just believe what they fucking believe. And it doesn't matter what's true or what's not true. And I think we need to start harnessing this power, actually. Believe it or not, guys. I think we need to start manipulating reality in our own fucking ways. Because if it's this malleable, we should take advantage of that. You know? And I think we can have a lot more vicious control over what that could look like. I think we should do the eye for an eye kind of thing. Thank you,
As
Bobo.
depressing as it is, you have no choice but to move forward. No one said it's gonna be easy to fight 60 years of CIA-crafted synthetic left.
Yeah, I mean... The people we're up against have no principles, no beliefs, nothing. They are literally wild animals. Should not be treated as human. Period. And I can't, you know, the implications of that is that if these people find themselves in a sympathetic position, you know, you shouldn't think of them as human, honestly. You shouldn't. You should just think of them like an animal, pretty much. And I unironically believe that they are less. I believe they're basically animals. I don't really consider them human at all. To be honest, I think a human being has to have the minimum of principles, and these people don't. I don't see them as human. I just don't. Look at that fake tweet that they made of me that got like 5,000 likes. And it was just like a fake screenshot. 5,000 likes. Is that a human being? Are human beings the ones who believe that? I just refuse to believe that. I just think they're animals. I think that's not human. I think that's like... That's the same worth as a pigeon, if not less, in terms of like what obligation we have to care for them and like treat... You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like a bug, and if you step on the bug on the side of the road and you squash it, it's like, oh, oopsie, it was a bug. Doesn't matter. I feel like it's one of those things, right? I don't know. Am I being too harsh? What else can I say? What else can I say? Anyway, guys, I don't have anything else prepared for today's stream. I just had the interview pretty much. I would love to react to stuff and things like that. I can't, right? I'm gonna end the stream and try to figure out how to fix my fucking computer and see what I can fucking do. To fix this shit. Because the fucking laptop doesn't work. This man has given into despair and has lost all empathy. He's incapable of understanding others. Bob, you are a cuckold. Bob, you are a cuckold. And I am not gonna have empathy for people who willingly spread lies, knowing that they're lies. I'm not. Okay? And you want me to forgive the people who believe the lies? Well, I can't. I can't forgive them. I just can't. I feel like at this point, like, I can't forgive that level of stupidity. Call me an elitist. I don't give a fuck, right? I don't know what to tell you. I can't forgive that. I can show you some hope. No, I think you can. I think you can be shown some truth because I think you're fucking naive as fuck, and you've never been through this shit, so you like wouldn't fucking know. So, yeah, I think all you need to do is realize how much you don't know evil, dude. That's your fucking problem. You really just don't know evil. You don't know how fucking sick and twisted these people are. So you're just like, oh yeah, I have empathy for being like, shut the fuck up, bitch. I think they're animals. I think they are. And I know I don't see them as human. I don't. I really don't. I think these are rabid, vicious beasts. And they are a threat and danger to the majority of people in our society. That's what I think. Thank you, Bobo. I appreciate you.
I think for too long you tried to be charitable to these people hoping they can see the right path. From now, they are less than worms.
Yeah. Unironically. Like, literally. You know, it's like people disagree with me very strongly on some things. Thank you, Both Gang.
You are being harsh. To the animals, they will kick the leftists out of their camp in Kiyama.
Thank you, Both Gang. Yeah. Like, some people disagree with me so strongly. Like, you know, the land back issue or whatever. And then suddenly, that's a green card to smear me, slander me, and spread as much lies as you can about me. Just because of these small disagreements they have. That's how leftists are. I don't think that's human. I don't think that's a human being. I think that's an animal. Hans, you're right about everything you just said, Hans. But Hans, what about what you said about the Filipino Maoists? Dude, before you can even disagree with me about that, you have to acknowledge that I am fucking maligned, okay? You are yeah, I disagree with you about fucking Filipino Maoists, so that gives you the fucking right to say my community are these neo-Nazis and all this kind of shit. That gives you the fucking right to make fake tweets of me and all this shit. If you want to get down to the actual business of where you clearly stand, you should fucking just debate me about it. The thing is, I have debated these people about this shit. They lose every debate I have on every substantive issue where they have a fucking problem with me. And then the way they cope with losing is just fucking making shit up. There's no nuance to this story at all. And anybody who's just trying to fucking say, Hasbi, you should think about how you've contributed to this. No, you're gaslighting. I have not contributed anything to that. That is literally just because we live in an empire of lies. It is literally because lies rule us. And that is a fucking fact. That is a demonstrable fact. There's nothing anyone who wants to stand up to the dominant opinion can do to prevent this from happening. You can appease them as much as you fucking want. If you disagree with them about anything, they are gonna fucking come after you and destroy you. And that is a fact, okay? The first thing these Maoists did was object to my use of the word retard. So because I said the word retard, that gave them the green light to lie about me in every conceivable way, spread personal slander about me, accuse me of being a neo-Nazi, make fake false flag infrared accounts, collaborate with literal actual neo-Nazis, dox me, all this fucking shit because I say the word retard. So I want to give you an idea of how it fucking works, okay? And I don't see these people as human. I don't see them as human. You will not convince me that these are human beings. You're just not gonna. But yeah. Alright guys, I'm gonna see how I can fix this fucking laptop and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye guys.